All right, so good morning, and remember to hit like, subscribe, drop a donation, kick yourself in the nads, do whatever you need to do this morning so that you can continue to live in denial. As you guys well know, I have been doing this channel for a very long time. The last two episodes of The Epic Economist have basically been my channel, stating the obvious. We're not making it in this country. No amount of pay under $150,000 a year is going to save you from being homeless. Now, the Claire on the road has stopped by my channel twice in the last couple days, and she's a person, she claimed, and this is what she wrote in my comments, she didn't work at Amazon, but she did work in a warehouse. Go figure. And she claims that she's not homeless, but she's living in her car. Now, if you watch this episode of The Epic Economist, he actually has a guy who says, I make $60,000 a year. I work two jobs. I can't afford rent, and I live in my car. Now, to me, not having a roof over your head means you're homeless. To Claire, apparently, living in your car isn't homeless. But who knows what her real situation is. But I just wanted to address that because she's dropped a couple of comments on my videos, and she's starting to build up quite a following at 20,000 subscribers. But she does things in her videos. She talks about real life in her car. My channel is about the denial that every American is living in right now, trying to somehow make up excuses for how lousy your life is and how working at McDonald's will never give you anything beyond skipping meals and figuring out where you're going to work next week. Because there is no job security. Yesterday at McDonald's, one of my coworkers messaged me about an hour into the day. Millennial Steam, I can't be here anymore, is what he told me. I'm sick. I'm stressed out of my mind. I don't know what I'm going to do. And I'm living with my parents. And that's the people that I'm surrounded by at my job. People who are frightened that they can't make ends meet. They will never buy a home. They will never drive a new car. All they have is their crap job to go to every single day. So at McDonald's earlier in the week, the head honcho of McDonald's, the guy that wears two hats at work, called me up and says, Millennial Steam, is there anything going on over there with the fry-o-lator? Is there anything I need to know? Is what he directly asked me. And I was just like, we're working ourselves into an early grave here. And like any other person at the wee top of McDonald's, he just kind of like frowned at me, pretended he couldn't understand what I said, and just hung up the phone. This is what you guys tell me in the comments all the time, is that no one's paying attention. We can't afford food. We can't afford shelter. We can't afford anything. So when we're not at work, all we're doing is sitting in the dark, scared. Because as the Epic Economist has said in 3 to 4 episodes in a row, our bills are becoming impossible to pay. Credit cards, electricity, everything that we need is slowly floating away from our grasp. And it's intentional. This is baked right into this system. They want you to be homeless. Because if they didn't, there would be control on how much rent you could be charged. In fact, that's actually going to be one of my talking points. All right, let's get into the script. The script is entirely AI generated. Remember that, folks. This isn't me. I'm just reacting to the AI generated script. Let's get into our first introduction. Let's get into our introductory monologue and go from there. You ever notice how in America working hard just means working yourself into an early grave? We were sold this fairy tale about the middle class. Buy a house, raise a family, retire happy. Instead, we're renting storage units, eating Dollar Tree dinners, and begging the landlord not to raise rent again. At this point, the American dream isn't dead. It's an inside joke between billionaires. My apartment costs went from 7 years ago at about $450 to nearly $2,000. In the course of that time, The minimum wage has only gone up a few dollars. How is the average person with the average aptitude for work supposed to make a living? The fact is, you're not. And if you can live in denial, and this is actually an article I saw, I believe, on Fortune a couple days ago, where Americans are in complete and total denial about the state of the economy because no one wants to admit that that they can't afford the things that they used to afford. In fact, the CEO of McDonald's said that people are shying away from McDonald's in double digits. That means 10 to 20, 30% of people can no longer afford to eat McDonald's. And I've been saying this for years. When you price out your own employees from eating in your business, the state of the economy has already failed. Yesterday, when I was talking to one of my coworkers, I asked him what he was going to do. You know what his answer was? I'm going to keep playing the lottery until I win. And I just looked at him like, are you kidding me? That's your solution to the state of the economy? You're just going to keep buying lottery tickets? And he just looked at me like, what else am I going to do? I can't work my way out of this mess. I've got 5 kids, a wife, and a mortgage I can't afford. And the worst part of this entire conversation is we were standing in the middle of, how do I put this? Not in the middle, in the lap of one of the most luxurious places you could be on planet Earth. And that was the conversation that we were having. And I didn't know what to say other than just look around at the lavish nature of what it's like to sit in a $1 billion resort. All right, let's get into talking point number 1. Think about it. Landlords aren't charging rent anymore. They're running a hostage negotiation. Pay me 3.5 times your monthly rent or you don't get a roof. You're basically working full-time just to pay off your kidnapper, except instead of duct tape and rope, it's credit checks and application fees. And the punchline? Most Americans don't even qualify to live in their own neighborhoods. 2 years ago, I knew a guy that worked down the street at the Kroger's, an old guy, right? Mid-50s, never married, maybe was in a relationship maybe once or twice in his whole life. What society would consider a grade A loser from birth. And he went down the street to the apartment complex near my own at the time, and he paid the $250 fee, the application fee, and the people laughed at him as he was walking out. You think you can afford to rent an apartment here while you work in a grocery store? It's not going to happen. To get into a place as crappy as mine, you need to come up with $1,800 for first month's, $1,800 for last month, and I believe it's another $1,000 in the security deposit. Might be more now. And you're wondering, oh my God, are you really going to spend $6,000 to move into a crummy apartment in this part of town? You better believe it. And that's why there are so many homeless people. My hot neighbor just walked past my front window. Huh. I don't know where she lives, but she walks past my apartment all the time, looks at my plants. Anyhow, the whole idea of the average person gaining housing is becoming nearly impossible. I mean, almost half the McDonald's employees that I know have to live at home. And these aren't young people. These are people in their late 30s, mid 40s, all living at home. Because what does it take to be able to afford that? If rent has to be 25% of your monthly income so that they'll let you live here, who makes $8,000 a month? I sure as hell don't. I know if you're watching this video, you probably don't either. Where are you expected to live? And the answer is simple, and you know that. On the street. But, Millennial Steen, isn't being homeless illegal in the city of Tempe? It sure is. So, what do you do with your homeless people? You tell them to go somewhere else. And that's what society is telling all poor people in our current society. You can't be a part of society unless you pass the sniff test. And for the proletariat, their feet stink, their underarms stink, they don't bathe, they don't have clothes. Society doesn't want you here. Every time you look out your window as you're driving past the hundreds of homeless people in your area, remember this: it's illegal to be homeless. You're not allowed to be anywhere. Every part of the city's private property. You're not allowed in the parks. You're not allowed to sleep in the parks. You're not allowed to sleep on the grass. If for some reason you slip into homelessness, you've now become an enemy of your own government, which is a frightening thing to think because remember, we're all one paycheck from being out there. Talking point number 2. A 3-day hospital stay cost $83,000. For what? You don't leave with a degree. You don't leave with a free car. You leave with a bill bigger than your mortgage and a free side of PTSD. In other countries, healthcare keeps people alive. In America, it's a business model that thrives on making you too broke to fight back. It's not broken, it's working exactly as designed, just not for you. As a folk hero now for the proletariat, I'm willing to bet that Luigi felt he had no choice. I'm not condoning what he did. I'm not saying it was right or wrong. Make up your own opinion. But for a person to take such a dramatic step, something has to be wrong in this country. Terribly, terribly wrong. To the point where it needed to be corrected. I'm not saying what direction, but we need healthcare in this country. We need free healthcare in this country. I pay for medical insurance every month out of every single paycheck. But you know what I won't use? I will not use my health benefits for anything. I've been sort of sick now for 3 weeks, and the congestion in my chest won't clear up. Do I need to go to a doctor? Yes. Yes, I do. But can I afford to go to a doctor? No, I can't. Because our phony insurance isn't insurance. It's a 10% discount code, and it doesn't apply to everything. And you and I both know that that is absolutely 100% real. Because every time you go, hundreds of dollars that you can't afford to spend on crap health insurance comes out of your wallet. How you're going to pay for it, you don't know. So guess what? The government says you have to have medical insurance. It is a requirement of being a person that lives in, at least in this state. You are required to have it. But guess what? You're not required to use it. Just like car insurance. It is required for anyone that drives a car to pay for insurance. But I'll tell you this much. Use your insurance and there will be a punishment. Try to use your health insurance. There will be a punishment. And it could financially ruin you for the rest of your life. Now you tell me if that's real health care. Talking point number 3. Work 80 hours a week, save every dime, and one day you too can live in an RV or maybe a storage unit if you're really lucky. The so-called middle-class lifestyle has been rebranded as tiny home living, so we don't notice the scam. Here's the real math. The harder you work, the richer the rich get. And the closer you get to realizing the American dream was just an infomercial for debt. That's the reality of everything. I don't have 2 pennies to rub together. I just got paid yesterday. Guess what? It's just like the health insurance. Your paycheck isn't real. The paycheck is supposed to make certain that you can afford to pay your rent. But if your paycheck is being used up 80 to 90% just to pay your rent, what are they really paying us in? It's fake, people. There's no leisure, there are no vacations, there's no retirement. It's just you, the grind, until you finally fall flat on your face. And like I say all the time, my idea of retirement is falling straight forward into the mud and having stray dogs tear apart my bones. That's what I think about when I hear the word retirement, because that's the only place I'm going. There's never going to be a time where you can stop, relax, and pretend that everything's okay. This week was one of the hardest, if not the hardest days I've ever had at work. Thursday, I came home and I was starting to break down. One of my work friends texted me while I was driving home, and I just told her, this is impossible. Everyone is being murked, and I know that I'm not alone. We're all feeling this way. And, sometimes, even when you don't want to, you have to punish your employees. And I feel that every day because that's what the system does. It punishes you every single day for being alive. Like, the reason it mentioned this RV is because in this episode of The Epic Economist, he has a testimonial from a woman who's living in an RV, and she gets attacked viciously on the internet for posting her videos, which I imagine happens to Claire all the time, is that people don't condone what she's doing, living in her car. But just like the woman in the videos, people attack her because she can't afford kids and a house. This is what happens. A lot of people don't understand that your employment isn't a guarantee. Finding another job in this economy is got to be one of the most brutal things that you can do right now. Because I know people who've been unemployed for years, not a few weeks, not a few months, but years of unemployment. People like myself in 2008, I couldn't find a job anywhere. And I went a couple of years, and then eventually I had to save myself by taking out more student loans and going back to school. There was no choice. I hid out at the university for the next decade and then came out and found the exact same thing. No jobs, low pay. To me, a job isn't real unless you can afford a house. And what does that say about the state of jobs in America? The economy has been toast for years, and yet people will continually support a system that doesn't support them. I don't understand that mentality, but I myself have experienced extended unemployment. And then you take a job and it's like even worse because now you're broke, but you have to go to a place you hate every day. Finishing the end of a work week and having nothing to show for it is normalized in this country. There's nothing. You look in your bank account and what comes out at this time of the month? Car insurance, credit cards, payments for everything. It's all gone. You blink and it literally posts to your account. And then the stuff that's late comes back and it says, "Oh, your payment's been declined." I got that email yesterday afternoon in the middle of the day. It's like, "Your payment's been declined." I'm like, "How?" I just got paid. And I'm like, I don't even want to look. I don't even want to look because I know that if my payments have been declined already and it's still Friday, remember, your paycheck hits your account on Friday. And midday, you're already getting declined payments. That means you have nothing in your bank account. All right, let's get into our closing monologue here. So here we are, exhausted, broke, and told to be grateful we even get to survive. They've stolen our they've stolen our futures, priced us out of housing, and turned our healthcare into a luxury service. And somehow we're still blamed for not working hard enough. But here's the truth. You can't shame a population that has nothing left to lose. And when a country this powerful runs out of hope, It doesn't end with fireworks. It ends with slow, bitter laugh at the system that thought we'd never notice. Well, I mean, I don't even know what to say to that other than even people higher up in pay, even the 100 to $150,000 a year class of people are beginning to realize that they're poor. That's the world that we're living as more and more people are waking up to the realization that, oh crap, I'm actually poor.